everyone, and welcome back to the cottage. I'm Joey, the Veiled Cottage Witch, and today is episode 5. We are on Nuin Ash, and this is the 5th Ogham on the branch of beginnings. So 5 righties. I'm so silly, but yep, 5 varieties. So we're talking about the ash tree, which is letter N in the Celtic alphabet. So I have a lot of folklore on this particular tree. It is known as Venus of the Woods. So beautiful, beautiful tree. And in Brayan law, it is one of the 7 chieftain trees and has been a tree of spiritual importance all over Europe for millennia. In fact, in Scandinavian myth, the world tree Yggdrasil, say that 5 times fast, was a giant ash tree connecting all the realms of existence. And for this reason, it is also sacred to Odin, who hung himself upon an ash tree in search of wisdom. And he gained the wisdom not just of the runes, the Nordic runes, but of all the Norse spirituality. So very important tree. And there's a little poem or a little saying about this. It goes, 9 whole nights on a wind-rocked tree, wounded with a spear. I was offered to Odin, myself to myself, on that tree that none may ever know what root beneath it runs. So very, very magical tree. And not only a tree, but it was a vessel or a vehicle of Odin, or also known as Woden, as he is sometimes referred to, on which he travels to all realms. It's the structure and substance of the universe and the tool to traverse it. So both the tree and Odin are essentially shamanic spirit beings. They are givers of knowledge, the vehicle, and the receiver. So Yggdrasil's connection to shamanism also ties the ash to the concepts of as above, so below. One of my favorite concepts. I can tie it into anything. So this is the universal patterns that reflect each other from the very small or the microcosm to the very large or the macrocosm, repeating the seeming chaos of creation. Now, the Greek goddess Nemesis carried an ash branch to symbolize her role as a divine instrument of justice, to ensure that happiness and good fortune, as well as justice, were dispensed fairly for all people. Now, Nemesis would take all good fortune from those who used their riches for selfish ends. And I love that. I love that. She is also associated with Adrastia or Adrastia, the daughter of Oceanus, who brought rain and fertility to crops. She was known as Nemesis of the rain-making ash tree, and her symbols were a wheel, a scourge, and an ash branch. Now, Adrastia was an ash nymph who was the foster nurse of Zeus. And in Greek mythology, ash nymphs, known as Meliae, were born from drops of blood spilled when Kronos, the god of time, castrated his father, the sky god Oranos. Yeah. Good times. Poseidon is also associated with the ash tree, as is the hero Achilles. Now, Achilles' father, Peleus, was given an ash spear when he wedded the goddess Thetis. The spear was cut from a tree on Mount Pelion, polished by Athena, And the spearhead was forged by the smith god Hephaestus. And ash was also sacred to Ares, the Greek god of war, due again to its usefulness for spears. It is also said that in ancient Greece, an ash was planted for each baby's birth. So I want to point out, look at this grumpy ash. Look at this grumpy ash tree. I mean, yeah. So a spear is such a profound weapon to a lot of cultures and mythologies. So yeah, and we'll talk about that more. So the ash is often associated with lightning, as its height appears to attract it with startling regularity. Hence the old saying, avoid an ash, for it courts a flash. And because of this, the ash is linked with several lightning gods, such as Thor. Now, the name for ash in Old English is aske, as well as its Latin name, fraxinus, both meaning spear. And ash was the favorite choice of the Celts for making spear shafts, a primary weapon before the Iron Age due to the branch's strength and straightness. These spears were often carefully engraved, and many were named, considered treasures handed down through generations. Spears traditionally were considered female objects, and Angus MacDougall described the ash as the boast of women. The Morrigan actually won Lu's spear, the spear of Lu, the spear of destiny. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. However, ash is usually held as sacred to the god Lu for his masculine solar energy, as well as its association with justice, as Lu was considered to be a god of law and order, in addition to his solar qualities. Yes. The ash has special significance in Ireland, perhaps due to its connections with Vikings and their successive invasions. Now, there were 5 sacred special living trees in Ireland that, like Yggdrasil, were probably understood and maybe even functioned ceremonially as world trees. And 3 of them were ash. The Bile Tortan, the sacred tree of Tortiu, the Bile Usnig, the sacred tree of Usnek, and the Crabe Dathi, the bushy tree of Dathi. These trees were felled as Christianity swept over Ireland, taken as symbols of victory over pagan druids. Yes, this makes me particularly angry because how could, I'm going to try not to get on a rant here, but if they believed that trees were too pagan, who created the trees? Pagans didn't create the trees. Anyway, I'll stop there. Because if you get me going, I'm a wind-up toy, and that doesn't stop. So I'll stop there. Now, in the Scottish Highlands, the green end of an ash tree, this is very interesting. The green end of an ash branch was put into a fire, and the sap that came from it was given to newborns as their first food to give them the strength of an ash tree. Can you imagine? Like, that's crazy to me. Now, water that collected in the hollows between the branches of an ash was considered holy and especially potent. Love that. Finding an ash leaf, yes, like this. I wish there was some, I would totally get some ash and show you guys, but there just isn't very many around. So finding an ash leaf with an even number of leaflets was considered lucky and was often used in love charms, as the name Venus of the Woods would hint to. Placing an ash leaflet in the left shoe was believed to result in a person meeting their future partner. Now, for love divination, the first man to meet a single woman after pulling an ash key from the tree would be her husband. That's it. The person on whose property an ash tree stood would be unlucky in love if seeds did not appear each year. So it was considered an omen, a very bad omen. Now, ash keys were believed to attract luck and often carried like a four-leaf clover. A leaflet placed under the pillow at night was said to aid in dream work. Now, in Ireland, the wood of an ash tree was burned to banish the devil. Ash trees were believed to protect against witches too. Bad witches, Twigs from an ash that had a horseshoe buried in its roots were regarded as particularly effective for warding off witches and evil in general. So you would have to plant that at the same time as you planted that ash tree. However, in Oldenburg, Germany, if an ash tree had a few buds on it at Beltane, it was said that witches must have stopped to eat them on their way to Walpurgis, a famous Sabbath. I don't celebrate it. I celebrate Beltane, but as an alternative to Beltane, you would celebrate Walpurgis. Now, in Somerset, England, an ash gad, or a pointed stick, was used as protection from fairies and witches. And in other parts of England, fairies and elves were said to protect the tree. Ash is also useful for making magical staves and walking sticks. A druid staff found in Anglesey, it's so hard to say, I'm sorry, was made of ash with spiraled copper ribbon around it that would have caught the light perfectly. And this is where we get the ash's importance as a wood of power, but also its significance as a central pole of the world and the cyclical nature of existence around it. Now, in the Celtic tradition, as we've already discussed, ash is usually associated with spears and is valued for its strength and straightness, right? Now, its additional use as the staff of the spiritual leader is especially significant. So it all ties together as a highly, highly spiritual tree. Now on to practical and magical uses. Now, on a magical level, the spear can be seen as an alternative to the magician's wand, a tool to direct energy. The spear urges us to take control of our lives instead of standing by and letting outside influences control us. It can be used magically to break all forms of inertia as well as reach an intended target. Now, in pagan Europe, the ash was the traditional wood for the making of witches' broom handles, as well as being the wood of the maypole, reminiscent of its position as the world tree and its attributes of magical flight. Here we see the shamanic uses of the ash as world tree, which the witch is able to ride at will to travel to other worlds or to view the mortal world through spirit vision. How cool is that? I love that. Now, ash is also used for divination fires, again, because of its associated with flight and its connection with destiny and magical power. Now, ash keys are effective fertility and love charms that lend their power of direction to open up opportunities. Now, carry some and have been charged and blessed in a green and gold pouch, remembering to always gather with the tree's permission. You can also place some under your pillow before sleeping. Remember, they're keys. They unlock things, right? So there you go. As it relates to magic, the ash teaches important lessons about the right use of strength and the gaining of skill to make the strength effective. It encourages self-control, courage, respect, and durability. Old folk songs refer to the oak, ash, and thorn as a sacred trio. The oak is masculine energy representing the god. The thorn or hawthorn is feminine energy representing the goddess. And the ash, as the world tree and druid staff, is the phallic link between the two, the transmitter of the energy, as well as the product of the interchange. So you can kind of understand why all three of those trees were so important. Now, as magical children of the gods, druids and witches sometimes carve figures out of ash for use in healing. These poppets, or what were called fifth faths, I love that word. I can't say it again. I can't say it enough. Fifth faths represent the person to be healed and act as a focus and transmitter for the energy. Now, equal armed crosses of ash were carried by sailors as protection at sea, perhaps from a lingering memory of its sacredness to Poseidon. Now, the seafaring Vikings used oak for their ships and ash to kit them out with magical protection. Now, in a modern twist, ash wood or leaves are sometimes used by witches and druids today in their cars to offer the same protection in transit. So ash is sort of like the as above, so below traveling wood. So you can always think of it as astral traveling and physical traveling. Too cool. The ash as a conveyor of magical knowledge is also used in dream spells, where placing some ash leaves under the pillow, especially if they have gathered at the full moon and with the permission of the tree, will lend the dreamer magical and prophetic dreams. Ash leaves may also be scattered about the magical circle to assist in invocations. This is especially useful in the south for the sun and fire, and the west for the element of water. Now, ash leaves all around the circle will also help to balance all four elements within a working, as well as within the practitioner. Again, as above, so below. I'm going to hammer that home with the ash for you guys. You remember nothing of this whole video. As above, so below is the ash. Now, ash burns well as firewood and gives us off a huge amount of heat compared to other trees. Due to this and its magical uses, especially in connection with the sun, it was the favorite wood to use as a Yule log at the winter solstice. Now, the log, which was sometimes a large root, was decorated with ribbons and given libations of wine or mead before being burnt upon the fire, signifying the returning sun. The last of the log would be used as kindling for the solstice fire the following year, and the ash of the burnt wood was used as a magical talisman to protect against lightning strikes. I love that. Now, here are your linked concepts to try and remember how to use it in magic. And if, like I said, if you can't find your ash trees, you can always use your sigil, your Ogham. So, protection, strength, traveling, both astrally and physically, as above, so below, wisdom, knowledge, enlightenment, justice, and solar energy. All right, now here's your correspondences. Elements, water and fire. Your zodiac, Pisces, Capricorn, Libra, Taurus, and Virgo. Your deities, Aries, Balanos, the Dagda, Oster, Freya, Frigg, Lear, the Morrigan, Minerva, Odin, Poseidon, Thor, the Three Fates, and Lu. The color is green. Your totems are dolphin, snake, elves, fairies, butterfly, goat, hedgehog, and rooster. The calendar is February 21st to March 20th in the 5th lunation, both February and March. Your related species are the American elm, the American gold ginkgo, and American sweet gum. All right. Now your healing properties. Your tender ash tips and leaves were used for rheumatism, gout, and jaundice. And after being fried, they were turned into powder, and infusion was made from the powder that was to be drunk or applied topically. Dried ash leaves were also imbibed in infusions for longevity, and the leaves were also taken in this way as laxatives and diuretics. Ash bark can be steeped in hot water and cooled to apply to the scalp to treat itching and infestations. And it can be taken to ease fevers and is considered more potent when you cut it in the spring as the sap rises. Ash roots can be used as a tonic and stimulant, especially for liver problems, again, because it's a diuretic. Ash keys were once considered highly aphrodisiac, and decaying ash wood was an ingredient for aphrodisiac powders and spells. And ash keys will keep all year if gathered when ripe. Energetically, or as a vibrational essence, and we remember vibrational essence does not have any actual plant matter, tree matter in it. It is the energetic essence, right? If used this way, it encourages strength and endurance, helping us endure the harshest circumstances. It lends the strength to protect land, family, and all that is important in a person's life. It helps them operate from a sense of rootedness and inner balance. Ash also stresses the importance of inner resources, feelings, and motivation. It encourages good connections with tribe, family, or community. Now, let me get, now, if we had these all in here and doing my little thing and we drew it, if we drew the ash, get it right up here for you, it would mean strength, uprightness, current focus. It's a symbol of the newly matured, hardened warrior at the height of their prowess, right? The pursuit of wisdom, getting to the heart of the matter, courage, determination, exuberance, vitality, the balance of being and doing, as well as giving and receiving, energy and resources in equal measure, rebalancing of any excess in behavior. It helps your coming into greater balance with the world around you. The lightning flash, the point of union between the mortals and the gods. The touch of fate, the spirit world, our magical insight. Now, if roots are up, that is reversed. It would mean that you're not taking control of your situation or your circumstances. You're feeling powerless. You're spiritually apathetic, feeling out of balance, not acting in balance with your will and determination. So, there you go. That is ash, one of my favorites. So, hit me down below with any questions about the ash, and I'll be happy to answer them. If I don't have the answer, I'll find the answer for you. Please give this video a like. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. We have the branch of gaining wisdom coming up next, and that starts out with Hua Hawthorn. So I know my friend Bobby will be so excited because that is his favorite tree. Yes, that will be the tree of gaining wisdom. So we have 3 more branches and one extra branch there to make up for the Greek letters, Greek and Latin. So yes, so we've only just begun. So please let me know how you like this series, what I could add, what I could subtract. Yeah, tell me how it's going for you guys. Please visit my website at theveiledcottagewitch.com, where you could book a reading with my reader, Bobby Fierro. He's an awesome reader, amazing. He's my reader. So we want to give him as much love as we can. So please book a reading with him, check him out. You can also book a service with me, book a class. You can also shop my online store where I have holistic healing products and spell and ritual aids. But when you get to checkout, don't forget to put in the code word all caps veiled to get your free shipping. That is my gift from me to you just for watching my channel. So don't forget to do that. If you'd like to financially support this channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee. All the details are down below, or you could just scan this QR code right here, but absolutely no pressure. Just live your best life and live for yourself. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.